Well, hello, friends, future listeners, random people that don't exist that I'm talking to anyway, and welcome back to Classing Up the Joint. This is part of the Roll Report where we talk to amazing humans about amazing things and their favorite character classes and all sorts of stuff. I am joined by another amazing human that I'm very excited to chat with, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves. Please.
Hi, yes. So my name is ASH WESTOVER. You can call me Ash, Ashley, Asher. Hey, you over there. I respond to pretty much anything at this point. Pronouns are she, they. You can find me at Definitely Not a Thespian on TikTok and Instagram. And you can find my podcast at Queer PG Pod on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter.
And what platform can we listen to that on?
Yes, you can listen to Queer PG on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Pretty much anywhere you find podcasts, we're going to be there getting our grubby little gay hands on everything.
I feel like that is the best version of that phrase I can imagine. Yes, let me get grubby little gay hands on all the things.
Yes.
All the things. Ash, I want to ask you, I think first, how did you start playing either D&D specifically or RPGs generally? Like what drew you into this sort of world?
That's a great question. So I have always been like a nerd. Like even in my household growing up, Lord of the Rings was just barely below the Christian Bible. Like it was definitely a very important part of my youth, but I didn't actually get into D&D and like tabletop RPGs until college. I went to a like an artsy school, like fancy, like everyone there is like doing plays and stuff. And there was one professor who was a lifelong D&D fan. Like he had a D20 tattooed on his arm, and like every chance he got, he was like, "Let's talk about D&D." And like, no, I'm that person. But
sounds like my kind of guy, really.
Yeah, he was dope. But he was also like the stage combat professor there, and so what he did was he created a show that was like live D&D. It was called Fantasy
amazing.
Improv because it combined like improv and D&D, and we would dress up. I was like a drow sorcerer of the moon. We'll get there in a second. And we would get up on stage, and the audience would have these giant pieces of like foam D20s that they would roll for us, and whatever that roll would be, like we had to like do like fights and stuff, and they would do like bad perception or persuasion checks. So we'd like look at the audience like, please, why would you do this to me? It was so much fun. And so just from there, I like jumped into an actual D&D campaign with some friends, one of who, Kenzie, is the other creator of Queer PG, the podcast that I mentioned. So it's just sort of like taken over my life a little bit, but in a fun way.
You love finding friends like those, though, that like really align and can like shift you into this fun direction that you're excited about going to. I want a teacher like that. That sounds really great.
It was so much fun. We had these giant foam swords and everything. Primo.
And I feel like it takes the whole, the collaborative storytelling effort of an RPG and of D&D and expand it to your whole audience, and everyone gets to participate in the fun.
Yeah, it was great. We ran for 3 nights, and by night 3, there were people coming in cosplay of the characters that we were on stage because like each night built onto the last like session. It was so fun. I love like the D&D nerds and how like into it and passionate they get.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite things.
That is amazing. Wow. I only wish I had seen it. That sounds like so much fun. And a great entryway into RPGs and like into D&D for sure.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess to ask the important question, the why we're here, or the first one, Ash, what is your favorite character class or classes?
I like sorcerers.
Really bold choice.
I know. Listen. They're cool. Consider this. They're super cool. I've always loved like magic, just in general. Just like I wish I could like use like I was the kid that would like sit in the back of the class and try to like move the chalk on like the board with my mind. Like maybe I have magical powers. Maybe I'm a little delusional, but it's fine. No, but sorcerers are great. Not I'm not a big like mechanics person. I just love like the story behind certain classes and the idea of like I have like a dragon ancestor or something. It just sounds so cool. And you can do a lot of evocation spells. It's so fun.
And it's more that like that you have that deep internal wellspring of magic from wherever it comes from. It's not the logical learning base of a wizard or the the very religious aspects of a cleric. It is I have this inside me. Does that like affect how you would create the characters as well?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I've played other classes, of course. Like I'm even
Absolutely.
playing a cleric in another thing right now, and I think it's just I don't know, when you're playing a sorcerer, you automatically have like a background that you can tie to like and your ancestors, and I'm a huge fan of like personal histories, and so coming up for different characters, like okay, so like this one person was descended from this like dragon and like all this other stuff, and just being able to tie that in. And also being able to make fun of wizards because I didn't have to study to learn magic. I'm not a fucking nerd. Is always fun.
Yeah, very much. When I find one of the things interesting about sorcerers that I guess similar to the wizards, like so much of the flavor and so much of the abilities that you gain depend on that origin, depend on what your story is. There's without going into all of the things, right? You have, obviously the sorcery points as font of magic and all the meta magic abilities that allows. And then there's just like a few ability scores. I think it's the standard 5 ability score improvements that most of the classes get. And a lot of the origin features. And then what is the level 20? Regain 4 sorcery points at a short rest. That's very useful.
Yes, especially when you like area of effect spells and you keep doing careful spell because your friend's just like charging into battles, but you're like, but I want to do a fireball maybe. Maybe I can do that and you won't get as hurt. How's that sound, guys? I'm trying.
And sometimes, depending on how you play the character, they may just absolutely not care. And you go, nope, it's your choice to go into there. Yeah. Wow. Do you have a favorite meta magic?
It is honestly between careful spell and twin spell. Just because whenever I play a game, I'm not one who actually thinks about like not consequences, but like I'm not gonna like prep a bunch, like I don't ever have a lot of like Bane or Bless or like any like utility spells to help. I mainly just like I'm just gonna hit it really, really hard with a lot of magic until it stops trying to hurt me. That's always been my like I'm very straightforward. I have a barbarian mindset, but a love for magic. It's just kind of balance there. So but I also don't want to hurt my friends because I always get overly empathetic for these fictional characters that we make. I'm like, I don't want to hurt Boblin the Goblin. He's my friend.
I think we all do. I think that is also part of the fun of it, right? Is to, depending on your tabletop group, build relationships personally with the other players if you haven't met them before over the course of that campaign or that time, but also really like, no, our 4 PCs met in a tavern. We don't know each other. And the story we're telling is not only the story of like us defeating the big bad, saving the world, what have you, but our growth and relationships as characters and as people, whether or not that includes romance, which you should discuss with your table and your DM and have a session 0 and that sort of thing. But like, what is this party? How do they grow together or apart over the course of the campaign?
It's the found family. It's about the found family. I eat that shit up every time. Every time.
Yeah. Have you had like a favorite sorcerer? Have you had one, like the one sorcerer PC that really either sold you on the class or made you fall in love with it all over again?
Yeah, that's actually going to be the very first character I ever played in like a D&D, the game that I mentioned, like after the fantasy improv like show that we did. I got a group of friends together and I played a wild magic sorcerer, forest gnome named Army the Immortal. And this is also one of the things where like I found out a lot about myself while playing this character, because when I first made the character, I was like, oh, I'm going to give them like they, them pronouns just to be like quirky. It's going to be fun. And then like a year into the campaign, I'm just sitting here like, wait a second. Hold on. Time out. Pardon? Like it's, and they hold a very special place in my heart for that. But they're also the longest running character that I've played. We technically still haven't finished that campaign. We've got like one big fight left, but because of how life be over the years, people have gotten married. We've all are in different time zones, random stuff like that. So Army is still alive. They're still technically out there doing their thing. I'm very excited to like finally like get to the end of that campaign and tie it all up in a nice little bow, because just the whole arc of like this little guy, just what the fuck is he doing? Like going from very chaotic and twitchy and everything and not knowing like anything. Like I always make really dumb characters too, because I myself do not trust my intelligence when it comes to puzzle solving. So I'm like, I'm just going to blame it on their bad intelligence stat. That's going to be my cop out every single time. Sure. But Army, they like went from just like this homeless little gremlin in the woods to now they're basically a god. You know how D&D be. Like it's been years. Basically a god, and they have like this beautiful love story that's happened, and their friends are there, and they're all like super supportive, and they've like figured out maybe a couple things now in their life, and it's just seeing like a growth and like how the different party members like work with each other too. It's just so satisfying. And it was like the first like really long form story I've been a part of, because it's just a unique thing about D&D. Like you can go for as long as you want. You could just keep having character development. It's so cool to see how things evolve as the player evolves too. It's just so good.
Absolutely. So good. I will say there's this really cool, like maybe 10-minute, I want to say Wired, little short documentary about a guy in maybe BC who's been playing a game for 40 years.
Yes.
Have you seen this?
His like daughter's in the campaign now too, right? Yes. I'm just that's beautiful.
And like everyone in the game, it sounds like, they've expanded and contracted the player pool, but they've all brought in multiple PCs, and those PCs have like gotten married and had kids and retired. Now their kids are like the new version of the party. The one moment I remember is him talking about bringing his daughter in, and his daughter wanting to bring a partner, and him going, okay, but if you guys break up, they're still allowed to play. Just be aware if your personal relationship does not affect my D&D game.
D&D comes first in this family, all right? I don't care what drama you have. Leave it off the table, all right? Don't bring your relationship shit to my table. For D&D, I love that. That's going to be me one day.
I hope so. I have nephews and niece to introduce to D&D once they're old enough to like do the math to roll the dice, essentially. So did Army go like all the way kind of from 1 to 20? How long was that campaign?
So I'm trying to think. I think we're at level like maybe level 12 right now. Maybe. But Army, we started at level 1 because also everyone but like the DM that we had never played before. We're all like, we don't know what to do. Help, and he was like, I got you. Awesome. But it was just so good. And I also like, now I'm the person who's constantly introducing people to D&D. Like it's spread. I spread it like the freaking gospel at this point in my life.
Yeah. Hey listeners, Colin here, just cutting in for a quick moment to say thanks for listening. We hope you're really enjoying the show. We are having so much fun making it and getting to play together, and hopefully you're having fun listening. We'd really love it if you would leave us a 5-star rating on whatever platform you're listening to us on. Maybe even go one more minute further and leave us a review. We love reading them. It makes us feel great, and we will give you a shout out on the show as soon as you do that. If you really love us, and we hope you do, head on over to patreon.com/therollreport. And maybe you can give us whatever you can spare a month. For as little as $2 a month, you'll support this show and everyone involved in making it. A little bit more, And you won't have to listen to me or anyone else asking you for money or telling you about our social media handles. That's right, on Instagram and TikTok at The Roll Report Cast. You can find exclusive new art, all sorts of cool stuff, little edited videos of the interviews that you might not have heard even, and so much more. Thank you all so much for listening. We love doing this, and we hope you are having fun with us. Back to the show. I'm going to wrench us back around towards like favorite classes and things, because I could talk about this all day, but there is a point. So sorcerer is the clear favorite. Nothing else comes close. All right. Favorite subclass, either sorceress origin or from totally other class, if that enters into the mix.
I really do like Circle of Spore druids. I've never actually played a druid because I'm afraid. But I just think like the cool, like the all this cool shit you can do with the spores, whether you're going towards like a more necromancy or more of a cottage core, you can kind of like make it whatever vibe you want. For sorcerers specifically, I like wild magic because it's chaotic, and that was my baby army. That was their subclass, or like specialization or whatnot. But I think, I would have to say Circle of Spores druid. Yeah.
I actually later today I campaign with a Spores Druid. They're a lot of fun. I have convinced my DM to like shift them a little back towards their Unearthed Arcana origins, because I find I think in the end they got nerfed a little bit with the fact that their spores, if your target saves, just takes no damage.
Yeah.
And the original one I think was like an automatic, 3 to what, increasing as you level up, and doubled if you were in your symbiotic entity form, but you just do the damage. And I like that it's now a save, but my DM has been like, okay, it's half damage if they fail instead.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, but I love that. And like my DM also keeps throwing things at me that I cannot turn into fungus zombies, which I'm a little sad about.
Ugh, rude.
It has to be a beast or a humanoid, and by the time we're at level like 14 now, like by the time we're there's less of those, but they're so cool. Yeah, and all the wonderful druid features. I really appreciate that your wild shape becomes less important, not necessarily less useful, but the strict vision of it, where you change into an animal, is like much less important for spores and Circle of Stars and like a couple other things. I think they've made some of the newer circles are very odd adaptations of that wild shape and turned it into something totally new.
I love that you can like just, especially like if you have a DM that just lets you kind of like go crazy with like the creative side. You could be like, I'm gonna have like Circle of Spores, like zombie. If you could like get like mold it almost like a golem into just like a little mushroom guy, I think that would be so cool.
Yeah.
Well, there's so many things you could do.
I love that. Is another thing that I really appreciate about D&D and about most DMs that I've played with, and the one that I try to be, is if you have a good idea for flavor purposes, like, please, let's go for it. And even if it changes the mechanics a little bit, like, let's figure that out. Not, no, that's against the rules, you're not allowed.
Yeah, as a DM, one of my favorite things to say is, yeah, that's cool, I'll let you do it. Like, it's my catchphrase at this point. I sometimes give my players too much wiggle room, I think, but we're all having fun, so it's fine.
I usually go for the roll for it. If it's I want to adapt that spell to like do something that's not strictly speaking supposed to do, it's like, all right, well, make a check with your spell casting ability, whatever that is, or you want to do some insane thing that like by action economy maybe shouldn't work, but if you roll a high enough athletics to climb that building and do this thing and scoop up the thing, and like, sure.
If you can give me like a reason why it would work, I will let you try. Like, you can't just like say you can do them, but like as a DM, I'm like, if you can explain to me how you're envisioning that this would work out, and it's realistic within the setting, We'll give it a go. We'll give it a go.
Yeah. Yeah. Very much. I want to poke at the why you haven't taken the opportunity to play a druid if the spores is like an appealing thing and you seem to have options and times when you could opportunities, not options, but opportunities to choose this.
I know. I think it's because at one point I heard so I'm not very good. Like I mentioned, I'm the person who can just like hit shit. And that's cool, but when it comes to, like, preparing your spells and, like, remembering all the little things, especially as you get higher level druid, like, all the things that can work together, I'm afraid that I wouldn't be playing the druid the right way, in the sense that, like, I wouldn't be maximizing its efficiency. And I know that that's not, like, the actual goal. Like, you could just play and have fun. But, like, in my brain, I'm like, if I'm going to tackle a druid, I'm going to be the best at it. And it's just, like, I think I've just gotten in my head a bit too much about it.
Sure. I super understand that. One of the things I've talked to other people about is the validity of damn near every character building approach, whether you want to power game and min max and like really do the most damage and have the highest skill checks and whatever, or, you know, to me, the polar opposite seems to be character first. I know who this person is. And so I can also dump their stats into, like, you know, I might have a rogue that has shitty dexterity. I might have a wizard that's only got like a 14 or 15 intelligence because that's how I know, you know, who this person is. And yeah, I know I struggle with not wanting to be efficient and good mechanically at whatever class it might be.
Yeah, that's why one time when I was just doing like a few, it's a one shot, whatever we say one shot, we mean like maybe 3 to 5 sessions. That's just we all know what we're talking about. I remember I took like a break from like the magic casters one time to play a barbarian. And it was just so fun to just like hit shit and not really have to worry about like prepping the spell and making sure my dead doesn't have all this stuff. I was like, so it's nice to be able to just switch it up sometimes.
Yeah, you barbarians, you just have like the occasional, if I'm wild magic, I got to know what surge I got, you know, if and ancestral guardians have their protectors, but it's so much just there's a thing 30 feet away, I run and I smack it.
Yeah, like I have my mission and I'm gonna kick it.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. And also to go to wild magic sorcerers, super fun. I think I have 2 related questions. One, how often do you as a player want to roll for a surge? And 2, have you or do you like creating your own tables rather than the one that's sort of standard?
So I, as the player, want to roll magic surge as often as I fucking can. It's so fun. As the character, depending on what kind of character I'm playing, if they're like leaning into the chaos, if they're like, oh shit, I can't believe like what's going on, like the character might have different opinion, but I like to do it every time. Sorry, what was the second half of your question?
About the wild magic table, right?
Yes,
there is sort of the standard one that I think is in either Player's Handbook or DM Guide, but I know a number of people that don't like that one and have created their own, or just like, you know, taken most of it, but like, some of these things are like really stupid, so we, you know, take those out and swap them in.
Yeah, it's not that I don't like it. I think it's a great starting off point, but at this point, so my younger brother, who I also got into D&D because we're spreading the gospel, he sent me this like wild magic surge table that has I think like 1,000 on it. And so I like when there's more shit, even if just because you really don't know what it's good. Like with the 100 things, I'm like, okay, I generally know what I'm risking when this is happening. But if it's like a huge selection, no fucking clue. And that's the fun part for me. It's just not. One time, I think this one is on like the standard 100 table, but one time Army did a magic surge roll and they turned blue. Like they're just blue. And because they're a gnome, they were a fucking smurf for like 7 sessions until I could find a way to not be blue anymore. Yeah. Because while it was funny, I was like,
I'm a smurf.
People kept being like, are you a goblin with a skin condition? Are you like a really short water genasi? Like, what's going on here? And the army was just like, I'm gonna catch all of you on fire if you ask me this question one more time.
Yep.
I gotta figure out. We found like a magic tattooist. We got shit together, but and then seeing, like, I love having characters react to consequences, especially unexpected consequences. And so the wild magic surge is always, so good. So good.
Yeah. What did you roll for a table that has like 1,000 options?
It's like a spinner online.
Okay.
Like, you can take like
Cool.
your like percentile dice and make sure you have like 10 of them, and then like line it up, be like, all right, so this is the first letter, this is the next one, and like just try to figure it out that way. But usually I just like click it and then hide and then look. I'm like, okay, this is what's happening now.
That makes more sense. Yeah.
There was one time as army, actually. So fun fact, as a gnome, if you cast reduce on yourself, you then can use mage hand to fly yourself around. And my DM made the mistake of giving me a necklace of fireballs that had a few charges left on it. And I also had the spell that I could cast myself. And we were going up against a bunch of trolls. And the DM was like, this is going to be really hard. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to fly over and bomb them. Like, just one after another.
And it's all fire, so they can't regenerate.
Yeah, and my DM was just like, okay, yeah, I dig it. This fight was supposed to be a lot longer. That's fine. It's fine.
Yep. It's like, I thought we were going to spend a full session with these trolls, and that was over in 15 minutes.
Just like, fireball! Let's fucking go! It's so fun.
I love that so much. That's amazing. Wow. Man, I could ask questions and keep poking and talking all day. I love hanging out with people that are as enthusiastic about D&D as I am. It's great.
Same.
But yeah, okay. So in summary, we love our sorcerers. We do. I'm gonna start. I need to figure out a way to keep a graphic and like have everyone's favorite so far. You're the first sorcerer.
Really?
We've had a couple rogues, a couple wizards, and Barbarian, and subclasses mostly from those. Yeah, and a lot
over here. Let's go.
A lot of ranger shade, of course. Although one person so far has been like, I actually like rangers.
I actually do like rangers, maybe because they were also in like one of the Kenzie played a ranger in like the first campaign that I played in, and now she and I are doing the Queer PG thing, so I have a soft spot in my heart for him.
I have promised that I will play one at the table of my last guest, Meadow. Whenever the stars align that we play together, I play at their table.
Perfect.
They were telling me that there's some feeling that they got really nerfed very hard from 3.5 to 5e. And I was like, well, I didn't play 3.5. I don't know as much, but I find them less. I don't know. Less compelling and that it takes a number of levels to really get their mechanical kit fully in force.
That's fair, but when it comes to like, I'm a very like character first, like numbers and shit second, because I can't do math. I'm gay, and so and so I think rangers are great in the sense that if you think of like Aragorn's like off of Lord of the Rings or whatnot, and just like the different stories you can come up with them.
Yeah.
There's going to be something so fucking cool with every class. Like no matter what you do, there's no wrong way to do it.
I did use Ranger as a base to make a long patrol hare from Redwall.
Nice.
As a fun challenge. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, and Wild Magic subclass and Circle of Spores. Great choices all around.
Thank you. I
mean, it's obvious. It's always going to be subjective. I'm always interested in what people like for unreasonable reasons, or like so much and don't know why. And super cool. Well, Ash, it has been such a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining me for Classing Up the Joint. Tell our listeners again where they can find you and experience the wondrous joy of being in your presence, because this has been so much fun.
Thank you very much. It has been fantastic to be here too. Yeah, you guys can find me and all the cool shit I do at QueerPGPod on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. That's QUEERPGPOD. I did write it down next to me because I didn't know if I was going to like say the letters in the correct order, but we got there. We're good.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, feel free to check out our stuff too. And thank you so much for having me. This was a lot of fun.
It was such a pleasure. And I had half a thought again, and it's gone. So I'm
That's
gonna,
all right.
it's
Save it for next time.
Yeah. Great. Thank you for joining us. Check out Queer PG, and definitely not a thespian on Instagram. Oh, I was gonna say, I'm amazed you still have a Twitter presence. I'm not going to call it by its new name, or like the podcast, I guess.
I will say the social media is mainly run by Kenzie, because I am actually a 45-year-old man, and I don't know how any of it works. So she's got like the Twitter and like the Instagram and the everything over there. So I can't really take credit for that. I just know we're over there.
Yeah. Fair enough. But bold choice. I hope it is not the bottomless cesspool of hatred that it seems to be for many people.
I don't think I've ever actually been on Twitter, and at this point,
you're not missing anything.
I was like, I don't think I need to get on that boat while it's sinking.
Yeah,
it's fine.
It's like solid 3/4 of the decks are underwater. It's about to do that breaking in half thing. Like, until next time, I'm gonna stop this recording.